Kylie. So what we're going to do in this video is go through the notes where we left off last time. So type 3, the types of word problems we're going to see will be giving us a point and the slope. So it's sometimes hard to tell what they give you, but this specific type is always going to give you the slope. So it's going to be similar to slope-intercept form, where you're going to be seeing like something like this, like $12 per hour. So up here in the notes, they're still going to be giving you the slope. But instead of giving you the y-intercept, the starting point, they're going to give some random point. And then we would put the information in the formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So they're still going to give you the slope. And a reminder, to find the slope, look for one single number that says something per hour, per day, per year, or like literally the word per means multiply. And because the slope is always being multiplied by something, whether it's in point slope form, it's being multiplied by that set of parentheses there, or if it's in slope intercept form, it's just being multiplied by x. It's something that's being multiplied because it's a recurring payment or it's a recurring growth or whatever the case is. But instead of having the initial down payment or the initial starting point, we're going to be given a random piece of information, a random point. And that point is not going to be the y-intercept. So because it's not, we can use point slope form to create an equation instead. So number 9 says, at Eagle Bay, it costs $12 per hour to rent a canoe. Nate and his friends rented a canoe for 4 hours and paid $68. Here we are. Here's the point. 4 hours, $68. So what we have is the slope, we have the point, so we would create this equation in point slope form. So before I actually read the rest of the question, let's just define our variables, which we're looking at like renting a canoe. It's costing $12 per hour. In 4 hours, he paid $68. Like, y is going to be cost yet again, which is going to happen a lot. So y is cost, and then x, what's happening each hour, x is going to be hours. So we have here $12 per hour. That's my slope. And then the point that we would need to use, we would connect that 4 hours costs $68. And then we have our equation. We would just plop these numbers right into the formula, and we would have y minus 68 equals 12 times x minus 4. Now, point slope is a weird formula because it doesn't look like it's solved. It doesn't look like you can do anything with it, but this is the equation. This is exactly what we would need. And if a question says create an equation, there you have it. It's in point slope form, but that's fine. Now, the next part of this word problem is asking us to figure out the cost to rent the canoe for 7 hours. So now they want us to figure out, well, how much will it cost if we rent it for 7? So we have to remind ourselves that x represents hours. So basically, we would take this equation, y minus 68 equals 12 times x minus 4, and we're going to replace in a 7 for x. Why are we doing that? Because x represents hours, and we want to figure out what the answer is when x is 7. So then we simplify. 7 minus 4 is 3. 12 times 3 is 36. And then we would just add 68 to both sides. 36 plus 68 is 104. So it would cost $104 to rent for the 7 hours. Okay, so next, number 10. A construction company charges $18 per hour for debris removal, plus a one-time fee for the use of the trash dumpster. They don't tell us what this one-time fee is, but they do tell us that after 8 hours of service, the total cost was $219. So again, they give us the slope, $18 an hour. They give us the point. After 8 hours, it's $219. And X and Y represent the same two things as before. X again is hours, just a coincidence, it's the same, but a lot of times if we're dealing with cost, a lot of options are cost versus hours. So we then put the numbers in. So y minus 219 equals 18 times x minus 8. That's our equation. And then we're going to use this equation to solve the problem. So the problem is write and solve a linear equation to figure out the one-time fee. So interesting, they actually want us to figure out what the one-time fee is for the trash dumpster. We have a couple different options to solve this and figure out the answer to this. One option would be, if we're looking for the one-time fee, which is the y-intercept, could be just to find the y-intercept of this equation, which to find the y-intercept, remember, to find the y-intercept, we replace 0 in for x, which makes sense. If we want to figure out how much just the one-time fee costs, and that's before we spend any money on the actual debris removal, it makes sense to replace in 0 for x, because we want to just figure out what that original fee is. So if we solve this out, 0 minus 8 is negative 8. So basically we would multiply 18 times negative 8, and we would get y minus 219 equals negative 144. And then when we add 219 to both sides, negative 144 plus 219 equals 75. So we can solve it this way. The one-time fee is $75. Another thing we can do is take the original equation here, and if we wanted to figure out the one-time fee, we could also solve this equation for y to convert it to slope-intercept form. And when we do that, we would see the y-intercept as the b value in the equation. So if that makes more sense to you, then we would do y minus 219 equals, we would multiply 18 times x, that's 18x. 18 times negative 8 is negative 144. And then when we would add the 219 to both sides, we would get the equation y equals 18x plus 75, where 75 is the y-intercept. So either way is fine, but you know, both methods make sense, and whichever method makes the most sense is the method that you would use. So what I want you to do is pause the video and then try 11 and 12 and then see how it goes by pressing play, and then I'm just going to go through the answer. All right, so number 11, they charge $39.95 per month. Oops. That's our slope. Plus a one-time setup fee. They don't tell us. They tell us that in 6 months, the service is $264.70. So let's real quick. X is going to be months. Y is going to be cost. Our slope is $39.95, and the point that we're going to use is 6 months. It costs $264.70. So it's totally fine that we're going to have some decimals here. It's just going to make it a little bit more interesting. Y minus 264.70 equals $39.95 times x minus 6. That's our equation. We're going to then use this equation to answer the question. Write and solve a linear equation to find the total cost for 2 years of service. So here's a little hurdle. The question that they gave us all the information in is in months. So we know X is months, yet they want us to figure out the cost for 2 years. So we would actually have to convert 2 years into months. So if each year is 12 months, then 2 years is 24 months. So actually the variable we would be replacing in for X is not 2, it's 24. So when we take X and we replace it with a number, we have to be careful with this one. We're going to be replacing it with 24. So 24 minus 6 is 18. We're going to multiply 18 by 39.95. That's going to give me 719.1. And then we're going to add the 264.70 to both sides. And overall, we're going to get y equals $983.80. So it's going to cost $983.80 for the 2 years. And then number 12, we've got a security system, $5 per week, plus an installation fee. The total fee for 12 weeks of service is $210. Write and solve a linear equation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so X is going to be weeks, and Y is going to be cost again. They give us the slope is 5, and the point is 12, 210. So Y minus 210 equals 5 times X minus 12 is our equation. And then we want to figure out the cost of the installation fee for this one. So that's the y-intercept. So both options are fine. Either replace 0 in for x, solve it out. Or if you wanted to just solve this for y, that's fine too. Y minus 210 equals 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 12 is negative 60. And then we're going to add 210 to both sides. And we would get y equals 5x plus 150. And that 150 is the y-intercept. And in this problem, the y-intercept is just the one-time installation fee. So this would be $150 for the installation. So that is when we are given the point and the slope. Type 4, excuse me, the hardest type I feel like is when 2 points are given. So when 2 points are given, you have to, first make sure the variables are lined up, that you're putting the right thing in the right place. Like, it does matter. Cost is always going to be y, and then whatever the other variable would be x. Some of these questions are going to be about cost, and then other ones are not. So we have to really be careful with what we're going to be replacing in for x and y. So first, we're going to define the variables. And then you need to make 2 points from the information that they give you. And then you have to find the slope and then make an equation. Okay. So to surf the internet, which is such an old school terminology for that, but to surf the internet for 15 minutes at an airport, it costs $4.05. For 40 minutes, it costs $5.80. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost for surfing the web for an hour. Okay, first we have to create the equation in general. So before we do that, let's just make sure we understand what x represents and what y represents. This problem is dealing with cost, so y is cost, and we're looking at minutes for surfing the web, so x is going to be minutes. Therefore, this information, 15 minutes, it costs $4.05. That's one ordered pair, 15, 4.05. The second ordered pair would be 40, 5.80. Then we're going to use the slope formula, which it's been a while since we've done that, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the slope of this line. So 5.80 minus 4.05 over 40 minus 15. So the numerator, when I subtract those, I get 1.75. When I subtract 40 minus 15, I get 25. And let's simplify this. 1.75 divided by 25 ends up being 0.07, which I know is a decimal. You could put it in fraction form, but it actually makes more sense to be in decimal form because we're dealing with a cost. And this is the slope, which means that it's costing 7 cents per minute. Now, the question that they want us to answer is basically create a linear equation and then find the cost for surfing the web for an hour. So it doesn't say what type of equation to use. Now that we found the slope to be that, we might as well just use point slope form. I feel like that makes the most sense. So I'm going to use, and it doesn't matter which point you use, I'm just going to randomly use the first one. And I would get the equation y minus 4.05 equals the slope of 0.07 times x minus 15. Totally fine to use point slope form. You could use slope intercept form. It'll take a couple extra steps. But this is my equation, and I'm going to use this equation to answer the question for what it would cost for 1 hour of surfing the web. Another hurdle, because this problem is in minutes. So we're not going to be using x equals 1. We're actually going to be using x equals 60 because 60 minutes are in an hour. So what we would do is take this equation, replace in 60 for x, and then solve it out. So 60 minus 15 is 45. .07 times 45 is 3.15. And then when I add 4.05 to both sides, I get $7.20. So it would cost $7.20 to surf the web for an hour. All right, so that's 2 points, and I feel like in class we only did one and then we moved right to this. So what I would like you to do is go ahead and try 17, 18, 19, and 20 in your packet as like your little assignment. So I'm going to stop the video. You can try these out, and then I'm also going to send you an email with the answers so that you can see the answer key to these 4 questions for when you finish to check, or as you're working through if you need a little bit of guidance. And as always, just let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and we will be meeting on Friday at, I think we said, 1:45. All right, bye.